So I think that what's most useful about this plenary and about how this got framed out is, at least from our vantage point at FEMA, disasters are fundamentally about people. And we tend to lose sight of that because we focus on the functional things that have to occur, the operational actions that have to take place, or the mechanics by which money moves, or processes occur, and all of that. And all of that is there, but it's there to support people. One of the first things that Administrator Fugate did when he came to FEMA was he struck the word victim from our lexicon and emphasized survivors because, as he's put it, the victims are the ones we could not save, the survivors have something to contribute. So I thought we had a very good discussion around how we communicate about risk. And I think one piece of that that we glossed over, but that there's a lot of room to talk further about, is how we as humans understand and internalize risk. Because candidly, we don't do it well. As a species, we don't think of risk statistically well. We'll say this, we're a perfect example. We'll talk about a 100-year flood. So if we had a 100-year flood yesterday, that means we're good for the next 99 years, right? No, that's not at all what that means, but that's all too often how we hear that information. And I think that we have spent a lot of time going back and looking at how we communicate around risk and how we communicate about preparedness and understanding what raises awareness and what motivates behavioral action. We are inherently dealing with a field that is dynamic. And I don't just mean the way we think about and act is changing. I mean the nature of the risks that we're dealing with are changing, and they're changing quickly because the world is changing around us. I think there's absolutely no substitute for experience, personal experience to drive thinking and action. So for millions of Americans that were impacted by Hurricane Sandy, I mean, this was an enormous storm, and 100 million Americans were impacted by severe weather. Certainly, those experiences may trigger questions, trigger actions, trigger planning, and that's great. More broadly, I think you've seen a lot more discussion about how do we adapt in the face of a changing climate, and in particular with respect to the rebuilding effort from Sandy, and I think those are good questions that we should be asking and good pathways to go down.